Welcome. Just settle in. We're going to officially get started in a few seconds, less than a minute. But just wanted to say a few things. It doesn't really matter where you're sitting right now, but we will be breaking into small semicircles and spreading out into the library and the dining room as well for more space. So thanks. Wow, it's great to be here this morning. Thank you all for coming. We're going to start with, I'm going to ask Reverend Allison to light our chalice.
Because our founders dreamed, we are. Because those who came before us dreamed, we have this beautiful sanctuary. Those who came after knocked down walls and barriers to create classrooms for our children and improvements. Because we dreamed, we have a parking lot and grounds and entrances that people compliment every single day. If you work here, you get those compliments 7 days a week. And because we dream, we will have the ability to host, to build community, to build justice, to play together, to worship and celebrate milestone ceremonies. Because we dream, someone will light a chalice in our honor in the future. Blessings and welcome to the light of your dreams.
Thank you, Allison. And welcome, everyone. I know most of you. I'm Helene Firm. I'm one of the members of the Gateways Task Force and also a member of the Deeper Roots, Wider Wings Capital Campaign. The Gateways Task Force is basically our facilities design team. We've been working for many years. We were the main people managing the parking lot construction, and now we're helping out with this effort today, so welcome. Just want to start with why are we here? We want to set the stage for what we're doing today. We're here to understand congregational questions, hopes, and concerns so that our team can finalize the recommended midpoint design elements of the proposed new building. This is a rough agenda of what we're going to do today. We're going to have a quick background. I'm going to take a few minutes just to set the stage as Allison already started of why we're here and what we're going to do today and how we got to be here. And then we're going to have our main focus is going to be a presentation from our architect, James Chai, who you'll meet more in a few minutes, for about 25 minutes. And then we're going to break into small groups to give people an opportunity to talk about and identify with Post-its their things they like, their questions, their concerns. And Dan Cohen, our facilitator, is going to explain that in more detail in a few minutes. Then we'll come back and assemble the information feedback from all the different groups and have a discussion based on that. Because the time is short and we are videotaping this first 35 minutes of the session so that we can replay it for people who can't be here today, we're asking you to hold your questions through the end of James's presentation and until after the breakout. So here's a just really high-level review of how we got here. As Allison said, it's amazing. We have our parking lot. That project came in $50,000 under budget, and there were people who pledged actually donated on their pledge, made good on their pledge sooner than we expected. So we did not need to have a bridge loan. We didn't have any bridge loan costs, even though we secured that opportunity if we needed it. So thank you for that. This right side here, I know the print is small, but basically the idea is to convey that we've been working on this a long time. We've had 2 campaign efforts, the purple and the blue. The blue is our current Deeper Roots, Wider Wings effort. We used funding carried over from that first effort into the work of this Deeper Roots, Wider Wings. The light blue here is the parking lot work, the cost of the parking lot work that we did. And this box up here is our remaining scope of our effort. Our building addition and also some significant, smaller but significant work on our mansion itself, a new roof and improvements to the mansion itself. And this kind of shows that we have, the blue shows where we have around $1 million in pledges already committed to this final effort, but we need this final 1.8 million to make it happen. And this is another way of looking at it, just real quick. We have, since 2018, we voted to do this Deeper Roots, Wider Wings capital campaign. Then about a year ago, we voted to spend the money for the parking lot and some other things, including doing this design work that we're doing today. That was part of that first steps effort. So we've paid for getting a full set of building drawings. And so this building design, this is what 2020, we're in the middle of. It's going to take about a year. Today, this little asterisk is roughly where we are today, this design review day where we are today. There'll be more opportunity for input later in the year. And by December, we expect to be ready for a congregational vote to proceed with the building construction. And we'll have much more information about the building cost by then and also where we are with our fundraising plan. So we'll have full information for that. Then the bidding and construction will take another 1.5 years, and by the middle of 2022, we'll have a new building. So a little more than 2 years from now. As you might remember, we have this limitation from our zoning board approval of a 3-year window from when we started construction of the parking lot to finishing the building. So that's why we're on the timeline we are. And then later on will be the mansion improvements that are not constrained by that building permit constraints. So how are we going to get there? We started looking at different ways we're going to get to that final 1.8 million that we need to fund these projects. And the biggest bucket is us, members, friends who are here now. But we have other ways we're looking out, and our capital campaign committee is actively looking at grants, reaching out to friends and alumni. We're going to ask you to put your thinking caps on about that at the end of the session today. And naming. There's naming and memorial giving. We feel there are some families or friends or members that may want to make a really significant gift and be recognized for that, for naming a classroom or other element of the new building. So there's an opportunity for that kind of really generational memorial giving that you can speak to Kathy or Paul or Allison about.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Chai. I don't know if you remember seeing me back in 2014. That was our first presentation. That was when you decided whether to go ahead and stay in this site, in this building, and expand. and I believe the congregation voted yes, and I totally agree that, that's what our suggestion is, to stay, because you cannot really find any other site like this, that having almost 6 acre, right? What I see here in your marketing brochure, the capital campaign brochure, is back then in 2014 was torch, pass the torch, right? And now is the deeper roots and wider wings. And what a great selection of words. And it says our resilience rising. I was originally involved since 2010 when we were first brought in to do some feasibility study. And it's been 12 years. So we thank you for your patience, perseverance, and resilience of making this journey happen. And we're so excited to have the phase 1 parking lot completed. Now you can wear your heels on Sunday. And we're excited to begin this journey of phase 2. Today we're here to present you the overview of what we have accomplished so far, the site plan, the floor plan, and we really need your help in getting more information for your usage group, religious education, kitchen usage, fellowship hall usage, whatever it is that we need more input per your youth group. So we'll, after this presentation, like Dan said, we'll gather more information and we can give you more detailed information with the drawings and guidelines later. First, we can start with the site plan. And as you all understand, our parking lot, east parking, let's say, has been completed. And it is phase 2 time, which we're adding a new addition. This is going to be a new building, approximately 9,000 square foot. And we do have a temporary parking, which will be replaced with a permanent west parking with many ADA parking spaces. And the playground is in construction. It will start in construction very soon, right? It's in design stage. And the lower parking, bioretention basin should be soon completed. That's the overview of the site plan. And now we go to axiometric view of the new addition, which is, again, is approximately 9,000 square foot. The space that we're in right now is a little less than 3,000 square foot. So you can see how large the building footprint of the new building compared to the sanctuary we're in. Also the mansion, the building footprint is about 6,000 square foot. Even though it's a 3-story high, our new building will be larger in building footprint. And we'll be surrounded by the courtyard. The courtyard will be surrounded by the existing 2 buildings and new building. And this faces the south and east. So even though courtyard is surrounded buildings, it will not be just covered with shadows and the shade. It will be sun-filled with this south and east lighting. And then we can take a look at the overall floor plan and showing what's important is that we wanted to emphasize, even since the zoning board presentation, that the existing mansion is really the anchor building of the site. And still the main entry is through this narrow gate. And then we do have an existing sanctuary. And the new building is a little bit away from the eastern parking. So what's important is the circulation through the existing buildings to our new building. And also the courtyard serves as a passage as well. So we're indicating with the large red arrows of the major circulation, major artery, that as a person enter into the mansion, into the lobby, and they can go into the existing terrace room, of these 2 doors will serve as the main circulating doors. And the hallway, we're calling as a gallery hall. And we have also a private service hallway as well. So the yellow represents the major heavy traffic area of the new building. And the down toward the south, we'll have the new fellowship hall. And we have a supporting spaces in the middle of the kitchen and the toilet and other storage area. And we do have a 2 large classroom which is filled with sons. That is the overall floor plan. Let me get into the detailed space of the new addition. As you can see, our major space in this addition will be fellowship hall, and the size of the fellowship hall is approximately 4,300 square foot, which is about 70% larger than this room. So which can hold, we'll get into details how many people can sit in the next slides, but we will have a fixed or movable stage on the front, and we can have tables and chairs, approximately 200, 250 people. And if you have a lecture-style settings, then we can have about 360 people. When you gather everyone plus the future growth, I believe they can accommodate that number. And we do have the audio-video room, coat closet, and table chair storage, which we really wanted to make the fellowship hall flexible and multi-purpose room. That is why we do need some storage spaces to hold the chairs and tables. And let's go on to the kitchen. Rather than having a smaller residential converted kitchen, we're going to have a full commercial kitchen, which can serve meal cooked for your entire congregation or third party, or any other snacks and coffee used for the Sunday. And we will have a pantry in the kitchen space as well. And we'll have the multi-stall toilets, which we do not have currently on the first floor. We only have 1 toilet. We do have some more toilets on the second floor. However, we will have the barrier-free, ADA accessible toilets on the first floor with the multiple stalls, and we also have a 1 family single-use toilet, which is very accessible from the religious education classrooms. For the one the kids need to go, they can just quickly go across the hallway. So the main reason that we have this layout is to give a certain hierarchy of the space layout, is that we wanted to have more of a public, semi-public space toward the existing building and the main hallway. And we wanted to give a little more privacy to religious education classrooms, especially the kids. And the previous layout, I don't know if you remember from the campaign brochure, we had the toilets facing the classrooms. However, we thought it was a lot better to give privacy to the classroom, and the major traffic coming to these toilets will come just across this gallery hall rather than going into this private hallway. So again, when we're looking at the fellowship hall, that can be multi-purpose space with the tables and chairs, or the lecture style. So when you have the entire congregation meet during the holidays, if you have 300 people, 250, then if it's difficult to fit everyone here, then we can move easily into this fellowship hall to have this type of setting. We'll have a projector screen. We'll have the audio, video, and lighting system. We'll also have the stage, which can be raised 12-inch or even higher. That can be determined. Then also, we're trying to have an exposed ceiling that we can see on this view. If you do have a finished ceiling with the acoustical ceiling tiles or sheetrock like this, then we'll lose approximately 3 feet of the structure. If we were to expose the steel structure that we're building, then we gain additional 3 foot. I thought that was important as a multi-purpose space to have more inspirational space. Higher the ceiling it is, it just becomes more inspirational. So that is an option. We can do that, but we're gearing toward more of an open ceiling to have a higher ceiling. Rather than building taller and have finished ceiling, that we don't have to build as tall, but have exposed ceiling. That's the idea. Also in the front, we can have, as you can see on this image, you can have the screen, have some projectors. But this is the lecture style we're showing. When we're looking at the fellowship hall, the important aspect of where to put the windows also drive from the site location, because along the west and the south there are the neighbors. We wanted to give them some more privacy. Also, we do need some solid wall for screen as well, so that's why we do have a solid wall toward the west, and half of the south wall, which there is a neighbor in this corner, we do have a solid wall as well. But when you look down, the south and the east view, we have opened up with a tall glass, 8 foot plus 2, 10-foot tall glass, which shows the courtyard and also shows part of the lower ground, which give you greater connection from the existing building and the new building into the entire site as well. The next slide shows the typical Sunday settings where you have a coffee and bagel. Probably not as fancy as this, but it's a casual setting of a tables and chair, typical Sunday setting where you have weekly, probably 52 times a year. This will be the typical setting of that Sunday. You can really see across this door, you can see the door, this door right here, which is shown on this rendering, is the connectivity between the sanctuary, because right after service, you go to have a fellowship with coffee and bagel. And that's why we wanted to, even though this is outdoor, we can have deeper discussion about necessary to have the canopy or any covered walkway. But right now we have the connection between the sanctuary and the fellowship hall with the direct visibility of the doors. The next slide also shows if all the chairs and tables are removed, you do have 4,000 square foot plus open space that can be really used for multiple purpose. This is showing the gallery hall. This is really showing the connection between the existing and the old, which is evident with the addition that they did, the Morris Museum also. They do have an older building and the new addition, and showing the glimpse of the existing building really shows the connectivity, just like the deeper roots, wider wings. We have the roots and the wing. And also on this wall, we can use as a donor wall when it can be, the design detail can be developed later, but this wall in the gallery hall really can be really used for the names of the donors whatsoever. And also, in order to be budget friendly and also to be environmentally friendly, we can use the new concrete just as a polished concrete floor rather than having any other finish on top of it. And this is a view of the religious classroom, which will be a little bit different from the other rooms. We'll have a finished ceiling, acoustic ceiling tiles, and the eco-friendly flooring. Have a very large, the windows looking toward the memorial garden, and which will have a solid walls, but we'll have actually transfer. It's called transfer door or connecting door. So if I do that too. I have 4 years old, 9 years old kids. So one kid goes on to another with the preschool kids. When I'm babysitting and we have an older classroom kids, so 2 people don't have to be there at the same time. The one babysitter can be in one room and be able to see the other room with the connecting door. That's how it's designed to be able to have a 2 classroom, have probably one babysitter, one person just watching the 2 kids. So on the other wall, which is not shown in the rendering, we can have larger screen TV for your education as well. And this is developed, and we can have more comments from you, but we do have a 4 foot by 4 foot storage closet, and we have the countertop with sink and upper cabinet. But whatever you need, it really can be derived from your actual usage group. And now this is probably one of the most important space for the new addition is the commercial kitchen. All the usages, again, we need more input from you to develop into the actual kitchen, but it will be a full commercial kitchen with actual oven, actual exhaust system, and fire angel system. Everything should be stainless steel, and the flooring should be quarry tile. In order to pass the DOH, Department of Health inspections, the full commercial kitchen requires health department inspections yearly. so they can maintain a large commercial kitchen with the door going out to the dumpster, refusal enclosure, which is very convenient usage for, and there's a west parking lot right there as well. And then we will be looking for more information from you. Then we're showing the multi-stall toilets and also family toilet here, as well as the storage room as well. And again, kitchen usage, that I just wanted to mention that there will be weekly coffee and snack, and probably monthly, 10 to 12 times a third-party catering. And if there's any cooked meal for entire congregation, biannually or quarterly, that all can be served from this kitchen. And we wanted to discuss the courtyard, which has become an important design element of the addition. Even though the addition is the building, because of how it is placed in our site, the courtyard has been formed by the boundary of the existing and the new building, and it plays a very important feature because it has an actual physical and also visual connectivity all around. As you can see in this rendering, this courtyard and actually a lookout almost to the lower ground, it brings the connectivity to the site as well. So it has, can be really multi-purpose spaces, can be a smaller group, larger group, whatever being used, the courtyard. It can be after sanctuary services. It can, in the nice sunny days, it can be used as a coffee, snacks, and really can be open. These doors from the fellowship hall can open onto the courtyard. And again, there is these gallery hall doors can open into the courtyard. This can be really open gathering space for the congregation. The different view we're showing, you can really see how the courtyard is playing an important feature. You can see also it's a black and white, but this shows how the glass wall opens up to the courtyard and to the existing buildings and giving privacy to the west and part of the south. But really, the part of the south this way and the east, we're really opening up to the existing building, and the courtyard plays really the buffer zone between the existing and the new. And again, just quickly going over exterior building feature. This is the final submitted to the zoning board, and it has been approved. We initially had more modern glass building. However, we had a lot of comments from the committee of the Morristown, and this we wanted to give more subtle, complementing exterior design to existing building. And the building height-wise is a lot lower, about 1.5 story on the front than existing 3-story mansion building. And the connection between old and new, we didn't want to have a brick-to-brick. We really wanted to have more contemporary transition. So we do have a glass transition between the existing and the new, as well as the courtyard side as well. We have the glass transition from between and the new, which gives it more of a transparency, but yet it started to introduce about the new building. Sustainability issues, I know for some group it's very important feature to consider that we do have a pretty large surface on the roof, as you can see on this diagram. So if you are eager to be energy independent, that we do have enough roof area to have the solar panels to be 100% energy independent even. And we do have a new energy code adapted by New Jersey anyway, so no matter what, we have to be very, very energy efficient anyways. And some of you may be concerned about having so many glass walls, which can be energy inefficient, but however, we'll have an insulated glass with the solar blinds will limit the gains of the solar, and actually having the insulated glass will help to save the energy inside the space as well. And for some of the areas will use the recycled materials and acoustical ceiling tiles. And for religious education classrooms, that if it's often used in a random schedule, we can have a mini split system, which you can just come in and turn on, turn off the system, rather than entirely having the central system turning it off. That's pretty much it for the presentation. And again, that we're looking to gather more information from you. I'm going to hand it off to Dan. Okay, thank you.
Yay, nice. Okay, everybody. I'm going to ask James to stay up, and on the stage we'll have everybody else, if you can get yourself comfortable. Well, hey, I just want to let you know that I brought 2,400 Post-its for this meeting, and we only needed 1,200. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hi, everybody. Hey. Hey. Wow. So much, no, really, seriously, so much energy. This is so cool. Did anybody feel like they were heard in their small group? No, really? All right. Okay, so not the worst process. Now, the proof is in the pudding, obviously. Yes?
Security on Sunday services.
Okay, so what we're going to do, just so we can get the process down, is I'm going to go over a couple of the likes, and then I'm going to hand over the mic to James so that he can talk about different issues, which could include security. When I say could, I want everybody to be clear. With 1,200 comments, not every comment will be individually dealt with, but all of the data is going to go and remain with the Gateways Task Force. So I just want you to know, your individual Post-it may not be read out loud, and yet you are loved. Okay? Okay. So in terms of the likes, as you can see, our big boards got really, really filled. And if you're worried about the boards that, you can see some in the back, this is transparency. This is a Unitarian congregation. Would you believe there were some duplicate questions? Because there were. So when it got kind of super duplicative, we saved them, but they're not on our big boards. Hopefully you can't see your penmanship if those happen to be yours, but those are dupes. All right, so here's some of the likes that people had. People liked the idea that the new building could be energy independent. Did anybody like that here? Nice. People liked James. And said, I like the look. We had a lot of people that said, I really, really liked the look and the flow. People liked the design, and they liked the fact that the front versus the back, allowed for a more traditional front and a more contemporary back. People really, really liked the courtyard, and I'm thinking that as you'll hear more as we move forward, that there's lots of possibilities about how that courtyard could eventually look. Because those of you, has anybody ever done any reconstruction at their home? Yeah, me too. And did you notice that it all wasn't instant, just like our project? This is all good stuff. People like the whole idea of the gallery too. So those were some of the big thematic kinds of things around light. So I just wanted to let you know that for me, and I hope for you, it's heartening when you see this board that there's a lot to like about what's going on. So with that, I'm going to pass the microphone over to James, and he's going to talk a little bit about some of the questions, I believe, or concerns that you saw that have to do with the building. James?
Okay. Thank you for all your comments. I see some questions and concerns, and I appreciate that you had a lot of likes as well, but it's important that we address the questions and concerns today, and some of them probably will be addressed with more detailed development later. We see some of the concerns, the storage, energy efficient, but I think one of the most important issue is the security and the safety. As we are introducing a lot more doors to the site, that we used to have one main entrance door, but we will have secondary entrance door from the parking lot, and if there is ever third-party usage of this fellowship edition only, this can be served as another secondary door as well. Then there is a lot of different ways to control the accessibility to the building. There's some of the door may not fully open from outside, but just to push out. Some of the doors like this, unless you have it manually open from outside, this can be from the fellowship hall. You need to get out during the emergency, so you need to be able to push it out as with the exit device. But this door, these doors people may not come in without keypad, the punch code. So those are the security issues that we have to address overall site-wise, and the security of the religious classrooms here, because right now we had all the children probably on the second floor, but now some of them will be on the first floor. So having the control rather than only the visible control with the solid door, but actually having a person here and there, that we'll have to address that as well. But primarily we just divide it into more of a public and the private, but these doors, there is no dividing doors here. So we may need to discuss that if you ever need the door between the private and more of a public hallway also. Another questions that we see is for the acoustics of the fellowship hall. Of course, this will be used as a lecture or a service setting as well. And every church we design, the acoustic probably becomes the number one issues afterwards, because if they don't put enough thought into it. So a lot of lessons are learned, and even now, if you clap your hand here in this room, you have carpet, you have fabric chairs, but you do have wood stage and you have sheetrock ceiling, which is not a very good way of insulating the building. And rather than having acoustical ceiling panels, so-called you say drop ceiling, which is to absorb the noise, that we decided to remove the acoustic ceiling tiles and to have an open ceiling. Of course, it's going to reverberate more. So what we do is we can add acoustical baffles, which can be aesthetically pleasing to your eyes. So rather than having just the drop ceiling here, we can have acoustical baffles or the clouds. Those can be treated to enhance acoustics. As you can see, there was some concern about the carpet, but what we have created is a 4-foot or wider borderline along the hallway, which is created with LVT, the vinyl plank, the very popular, where you guys are putting probably in the basement all over. There's a very popular vinyl plank or tiles we can put along the borderline, so where there's heavy traffic, that the carpet will not get as much stained. But the carpet, we can use the carpet tiles. If you see the frequent staining issue with the carpet, then we can have the 4-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot carpet tile, which easily can be replaced for stain. And also there are some questions about the courtyard, the visibility from the courtyard, that we don't really see it here, but when you're sitting in the corner area of the fellowship hall, the part of the lower ground is visible, so the playground is not too far from here, but the size of the playground, again, you'll have to discuss with your task force group. But the visibility from the fellowship hall to the courtyard, from the courtyard to playground, is somewhat connected. But we're going to have to test how well visible it is. And obviously with the children that you may be concerned about being able to see your children out there. Another main concern that you had was the toilets that this was designed, so we have reduced. Typically when we design a men's toilet, we have 70% urinal and 30% of the actual water closet. But for this particular men's, so-called men's for now, bathroom, we only have 2 urinals and we have many stalls. So we designed it as easily convertible to be unisex toilets. So even now, if your congregation make a decision to make this as unisex men and women rather than men and women, 2 unisex multi-stall toilets, that can be done. But it really depends on the decision that you make. But you want it to be more flexible. That's why we have multiple stalls of water closet with partitions, and partitions that will be more privacy. These days, even the door, there are doors that is a cut-in diagonal, so no one can even see through the gap. It can be full partition from the floor to the ceiling, so it gives you ultimate privacy. And if you can see some in New York City, like a Starbucks in Union City, they have created a very large toilet where there's no men and women. It's just unisex toilets, and it's very elegantly designed. So if you congregation really need to make a decision whether you want the unisex toilet or men and women, just having one family toilet, it may be lacking, especially with the two classrooms here. So the family bathroom is not exclusive for the children, but is geared toward the usage of the children here, rather than having more of a unisex stall. So, by having that, also you may gear toward having a unisex toilet, so adults do not have to go into this private hallway and use this family room for the gender sensitivity. The kitchens really, after today, we will have more inputs from you, and we'll have a commercial kitchen consultant brought in, and also audio video lighting, and we'll have a audio video lighting consultant brought in. And HVAC, I know there were some comments about the VRF, the variant refrigerant piping system, which we will have for the classrooms. But we will see if we do have really independent energy system that we don't have to bring the gas for the heating, that it can be all solar powered, and we can have a VRF HVAC system to the ventilate and AC and heat the entire building in a very energy efficient ways. Storage bathrooms. Then I'm not sure if I do remember all the concerns. I'm not sure if you want to actually get any answers directly from congregation or.
So can you say just a little bit more about anything around energy efficiency and maybe accessibility, wheelchairs and stuff? Because what's the plan? I guess let's just say bathrooms only. Start there. Will the bathrooms be accessible, or is it more for the family bathroom for accessibility, or what did you say?
Correct. We do have each large bathroom. We do have one ADA accessible toilet per code. And if you do want to increase that more than the number of the code required, then we could increase it. But we have 3 ADA accessible toilets on the first floor. But we forgot to mention this during presentation, but we do have the ADA parking spots on the western parking lot, and it will be barrier-free entrance to this entry. And all the first floor, the new building will be barrier-free, and we have a direct connection to the mansion. And from the mansion into the sanctuary, we are going to build a ramp along this building of that wall, so you can enter without going through these steps from the mansion into the sanctuary through this ramp, and you can enter into that entrance, and we can build a ramp along this wall. So from the mansion into the stage, then we can have the ADA accessibility. And there were some mentions of the water fountain. Of course, it will be cooled and filtered water fountain for the children and adult, anybody to use this year.
What can you say about walkways and flow, additional information? So if large groups are moving between this sanctuary and the fellowship hall?
Right. Obviously, if the weather is nice and if these doors are open, then it's less burden for these two doors. But these two doors, we didn't want to create too much a bottleneck effect. But we do have existing about 5 foot 4 inch, another 5 foot 4 inch. If these two doors are open, it's about 10 foot wide openings and two doors. So we didn't see that it's going to be a too burdensome for these two doors. Not only one door, having two doors open. And also, really depends on how people move. If 100 people run to coffee right after service, it can be a problem. But if usually after service, then you get to say hello, you get to have some fellowship in here and talking. And as you move toward the fellowship hall, there will be a small group of people, again, start to talking in the vestibule, in the lobby. So it's not like that everybody will, I'm not sure.
No, well, James, just so you're clear,
Right.
the children walk, it's the adults that run. So it's a little different than you're used to here, okay? So there were questions about the...
Energy efficiency.
Yeah, so, yes, did you talk about the energy efficiency? Did I miss that? Because Steve just called that up again. Okay, all right, I thought you did. Okay, so what can you tell us about there's questions, a bunch of questions about the brick facing and window characteristics
Right.
and curtain glass, solar
Right,
shades?
right.
Yes, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. Contrary to the building that we have, the mansion and the sanctuary, we do not have the large amount of the glass. We have a lot of solid wall with a solid brick. But what we're proposing is to complement existing, we are to use thin brick, which is as good as solid brick, but is very budget friendly. But the use of the glass, the previous design, we had an entire glass wall, just like the typical Mies van der Rohe, the very contemporary glass box, but it's very energy inefficient. So what we're proposing is to have just the glass area just right for our function, which is to have, if we only have, we had another design alternate to have 8-foot glass wall only, but it was just starting to limit the visibility and transparency and the connectivity from the fellowship hall to the courtyard and the sanctuary. So rather than having entire wall as a glass and having the tall glass, what we did is we reduced the width of the glass. So half of the south wall and probably 80% of the east wall has become the glass wall, and up to 10 foot. If it's up to 7 foot, 8 foot, it just becomes too small as a 2-story, because we wanted to have the fellowship hall as a multi-purpose room with a high ceiling, almost a 2-story. If you have a typical 2-story house, you have 8 foot, and another 8 foot, you have a 16, 17 foot ceiling. And imagine that you only have a 1 story of the window rather than having 2 stories. So we wanted to just bring it up the minimum. So that's the minimum. We figure it's about 10 foot. So having that 10 foot tall and approximately 30 feet of the glass is bringing the outside air, outside temperature, and also the solar gain. So in order to limit that, of course, the glass itself will have some insulation with the air between, and we'll have the blinds rather than curtains. Curtain is very hard to maintain and the dust collecting. So we'll have the solar blinds, which transmits about 70 to 80% of the visibility, but it just blocks the solar. So if you can see, it's a perforated blind, typically, you see. But if you really do need the blackout blinds, some of these churches that we do design have a double shades. So we have the solar blinds and we can have a blackout blinds. But even my church, a lot of churches, we end up not using the blackout blinds, just wasting money. So as long as you have some solar blinds, will give you some privacy. It also the solar gain limit on those.
James, based on the initial mid-level design, the transition between the existing building and the new building, if it rains, will we get wet? Well, I think these are some of the concerns people had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Based on the initial design.
right. The courtyard, right? Because courtyard is is a secondary. It's not a main circulation. It's a secondary when the weather permits. So we shouldn't consider courtyard as a main circulating path from the sanctuary to the fellowship hall. Of course, this is easier and faster and shorter, but
Can you flip to the slide that shows the circulation paths? I think that would be helpful.
sure. All the way in the beginning.
Sorry.
The site plan. Let me just show the site. It's a lot of slides. Here. Right. So major circulation is here. That's why we have to consider, based on your input, if we're going to have any covered walkway, which is architecturally can be tacky, but as a landscape, as a landscape design allows, because the courtyard, we need to bring in the landscape design builder and have the design features. And what we really think is that the entrance, which door needs to swing out because the number of people, and also another entrance here. So introducing canopy or any type of covered walkway would allow to use this really courtyard as a pathway. So that's something we should consider, right?
But you don't have to get wet if you go up the other way.
If you go around, you don't have to get wet, right?
Okay, so
Yep.
I just wanted to mention, the gallery hall is almost 15 feet wide, so that was deliberately sized to carry lots of traffic. So that's the primary access, and it's really big, and double doors into the fellowship hall.
I'm going to stop you. If you're going to say that much, you need to get a microphone.
You can reprise.
Yes, so the courtyard has become the part of the important design feature during the design process. Initially, it wasn't. Initially, it was more of this circulation around the building with the gallery hall with a 15 feet wide, the hallway. That's why because we have given 8,750 square foot, and we want to use every inch wisely, but we're giving a lot of space to the hallway. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because of the major heavy traffic from the sanctuary to mansion into this fellowship hall. So new gallery hall is almost as wide as the lobby of the mansion. So we want to keep the same width of the hallway from whatever existing to the new, so it can be more consistent. But this secondary feature has become more important and more important, and more we look into this, and the courtyard is just such a lovely and exciting space. So having more landscape feature and having more usable space as covered, and that can be enhanced that space. So that's something we need to.
and then, because we are getting close to 12 o'clock, so I got one more thing that was popping out from the questions was around storage. So based on the storage space that has been allocated, are we looking that if we had 300 chairs for the new fellowship hall, because if we want to do some kind of congregational meeting, will the storage rooms be able to hold those chairs, or what about coats and that kind of consideration, James?
So the coat closet we have is going to be exclusive for the coats, and the tables and chair storage is not big enough to hold 360 chairs and let's say 25 tables. So this storage is big enough to put all the tables. But typically what we do is the chairs will be on the rack and moving racks, and it can take up some space along the wall. If you were to have an open space as an event or dancing, meditating, whatsoever it is, then some of the space in the fellowship hall will be used as a chair racks. Because we didn't want to give too much of space of the storage to hold the chairs and tables, but it is enough space to put all the tables, about 25 round tables or so.
And then the stage, because you did make a mention about the height of the stage, are we getting an electric stage for up and down?
It's going to be pretty much a flip. It's like a table tennis. You can just fold it and put it on the side. Or if you want to have a more of a permanent fixed stage, it can just 12-inch high. So even if a banquet type of setting, then you can have both hosts can be on that stage. So we were thinking more of to make it not too high. If it's 12-inch only, then you don't see that much of hierarchy. But if you wanted to make it movable, and they can be folded up and put it on the side as well.
So that's a later design decision. And I think Helene's going to start the conclusion work.
Okay. Thank you.
One clarification I was asked to make was that, James, correct me if I'm not correct, but the seating at tables would be for about 200 to 250 people at tables. So roughly the same amount of people we have in a meeting here could go in and have a dinner party afterwards. So that's what we're looking for.
Should I ask for a courtesy for DRWW?
Kathy, you want to use the mic, please?
I just need any member of Gateways. So part of my job is communication for our campaign of raising another 1.8 million. So I would love it if Gateways would stay, as well as our facilitators for a photograph, so that we can document what's been happening, and eventually we're creating inserts for your view book, and this could be another insert that goes in to record the history of what we're doing. So thank you, Gateways, folks working with our architects. So architect and Gateways, stay. Thank you, Gateways. Clap, clap, clap. Good job. Beautiful. And our facilitators, please stay. It'll take like 3 minutes to get this done, okay? Thanks.
Okay, I just